Good morrow, scholars. Welcome again to Breaking Dawn. How you guys doing? Whoops. I'm feeling much better today, but still in quite a bit of pain. Or I guess it's more like a soreness. I think I must have had like the flu or something. But yeah, everything's good now. Speaking of which, I'm gonna take some medicine real quick. I should have done that before, but I don't know why I didn't. Oh, real quick, since I started playing this game called the Cullens, I uploaded a video of it yesterday. It reminded me, I've never actually read the Hunger Games, like the series, or the first book. Do you think maybe after I'm done with this, I should read that? I haven't even seen all the movies. I've seen a bit of the second one and very little of the third one. But I have seen the fourth one and the first one. Anyway, we are in chapter 13. Good thing I've got a strong stomach. Probably. Page 244. Carlisle and Rosalie were off in a flash, darting upstairs. I could hear them debating whether they should warm it up for her. Ugh. Like, he went, ugh, too, but no, that was me. I wondered what all House of Horrors stuff they kept around here. Fridge full of blood. Check. What else? Torture chamber? Coffin room? Edward stayed, holding Bella's hand. His face was dead again. He didn't seem to have the energy to keep up even the little hint of hope he'd had before. They stared into each other's eyes, but not in a gooey way. It was like they were having a conversation. Kind of reminded me of Sam and Emily. No, it wasn't gooey, but that only made it harder to watch. I knew what it was like for Leah, having to see that all the time, having to hear it in Sam's head. Of course, we all felt bad for her. We weren't monsters, in that sense, anyway. But I guess we'd blamed her for how she handled it, lashing out at everyone, trying to make us all as miserable as she was. I would never blame her again. How could anyone help spreading this kind of misery around? How could anyone not try to ease some of the burden by shoving a little piece of it off to someone else? I can understand that. And if it meant that I had to have a pack, how could I blame her for taking my freedom? I would do the same. If there was a way to escape this pain, I'd take it too. Rosalie darted downstairs after a second, flying through the room like a sharp breeze, stirring up the burning smell. She stopped inside the kitchen, and I heard the creak of a cupboard door. What? Not clear, Rosalie, Edward murmured. Dang it. He rolled his eyes. Bella looked curious, but Edward just shook his head at her. Rosalie blew back through the room and disappeared again. This was your idea? Bella whispered, her voice rough as she strained to make it loud enough for me to hear, forgetting that I could hear just fine. I kind of liked how, a lot of the time, she seemed to forget that I wasn't completely human. I moved closer so that she wouldn't have to work so hard. Don't blame me for this one. Your vampire was just picking snide comments out of my head. She smiled a little. I didn't expect to see you again. Yeah, me either. It felt weird just standing there, but the vampires had shoved all of the furniture out of the way for the medical setup. I imagined that it didn't bother them. Sitting or standing didn't make much difference when you were stone. Wouldn't bother me much, either, except that I was so exhausted. Edward told me what you had to do. I'm sorry. It's okay. It was probably only a matter of time till I snapped over something Sam wanted me to do. I lied. And Seth, she whispered. He's actually happy to help. I hate causing you trouble. I laughed once. More a bark than a laugh. Wink, wink. She breathed a faint sigh. I guess that's nothing new, is it? No, not really. You don't have to stay and watch this, she said, barely mouthing the words. I could leave. It was probably a good idea. But if I did, with the way she looked right now, I could be missing the last 15 minutes of her life. I don't really have anywhere else to go, I told her, trying to keep the emotion out of my voice. The wolf thing is a lot less appealing since Leah joined up. Leah? She gasped. You didn't tell her? I asked Edward. He just shrugged without moving his eyes from her face. I could see it wasn't very exciting news to him, not something worth sharing with the more important events that were going down. Bella didn't take it so lightly. It looked like it was bad news to her. I wonder why. Why? She breathed. I didn't want to get into the whole novel-length version, to keep an eye on Seth. But Leah hates us, she whispered. Us, nice. I could see that she was afraid, though. Leah's not going to bug anyone, but me. She's in my pack, I grimaced at the words, so she follows my lead. Ugh. Bella didn't look convinced. You're scared of Leah, but you're best buds with a psychopath blonde? There was a low hiss from the second floor. Cool, she'd heard me. Bella frowned at me. Don't. Rose understands. Yeah, I grunted. She understands that you're gonna die, and she doesn't care so long as she gets her mutant spawn out of the deal. Stop being a jerk, Jacob, she whispered. She looked too weak to get mad at. I tried to smile instead. You say that like it's impossible. Or like it's possible, sorry. Bella tried not to smile back for a second, but she couldn't help it in the end. Her chalky lips pulled up at the corners. And then Carlyle and the psycho in question were there. Carlyle had a white plastic cup in his hand, the kind with a lid and bendy straw. Oh, not clear now, I got it. Edward didn't want Bella to have to think about what she was doing any more than necessary. You couldn't see what was in the cup at all, but I could smell it. I wonder whose blood it was. Carlyle hesitated, the hand with the cup half extended. Bella eyed it, looking scared again. We could try another method, Carlyle said quietly. No, Bella whispered. No, I'll try this first. We don't have time. At first I thought she'd finally gotten a clue and was worried about herself, but then her hand fluttered feebly against her stomach. Bella reached out and took the cup from him. Her hand shook a little, and I could hear the sloshing from inside. Yee. She tried to prop herself up on one elbow, but she could barely lift her head. A whisper of heat brushed down my spine as I saw how frail she'd gotten in less than a day. Rosalie put her arm under Bella's shoulders, supporting her head, too, like you did with a newborn. Hee hee hee. Blondie was all about the babies. What? Thanks, Bella whispered. Her eyes flickered around at us. Still aware enough to feel self-conscious, she wasn't so drained. If she wasn't so drained, I'd bet she'd have blushed. Don't mind them, Rosalie murmured. It made me feel awkward. I should have left when Bella had offered the chance. I didn't belong here, being a part of this. I thought about ducking out, but then I realized a move like that would only make this worse for Bella, make it harder for her to go through with it. She'd figure I was too disgusted to stay, which was almost true. Still, while I wasn't going to claim responsibility for this idea, I didn't want to jinx it either. Bella lifted the cup to her face and sniffed at the end of the straw. She flinched and then made a face. Bella, sweetheart, we can find an easier way, Edward said, holding his hand out for the cup. Plug your nose, Rosalie suggested. She glared at Edward's hand like she might snap at it. I wished she would. I bet Edward wouldn't take that sitting down, and I'd love to see Blondie lose a limb. No, that's not it. It's just that it. Bella sucked in a deep breath. It smells good, she admitted in a tiny voice. I swallowed hard, fighting to keep the disgust off my face. That's a good thing, Rosalie told Bella eagerly. That means we're on the right track. Give it a try. Given Blondie's new expression, I was surprised she didn't break into a touchdown dance. That'd be funny to see. Bella shoved the straw between her lips, squeezed her eyes shut, and wrinkled her nose. I could hear the blood slopping around in the cup again as her hand shook. She sipped at it for a second and then moaned quietly with her eyes still closed. Edward and I stepped forward at the same time. He touched her face. I clenched my hands behind my back. Bella, love, I'm okay, she whispered. She opened her eyes and stared up at him. Her expression was apologetic, pleading, scared. It tastes good, too. Acid churned in my stomach, threatening to overflow. I ground my teeth together. That's good, Blondie repeated, still jazzed. A good sign. I'm worried. Edward just pressed his hand to her cheek, curling his fingers around the shape of her fragile bones. Bella sighed and put her lips to the straw again. She took a real pull this time. The action wasn't as weak as everything else about her, like some instinct was taking over. "How's your stomach? Do you feel nauseated?" Carlyle asked. Bella shook her head. "No, I don't feel sick," she whispered. "There's a first, huh?" Rosalie beamed. "Excellent." "I think it's a bit early for that, Rose," Carlyle murmured. "Oh, goodness. Where did that come from?" Bella gulped another mouthful of blood. Then she flashed a look at Edward. "Does this mess up my total?" she whispered. "Or do we start counting after I'm a vampire?" "No one is counting, Bella. In any case, no one died for this." He smiled a lifeless smile. "Your record is still clean. They'd lost me." "I'll explain later," Edward said, solo the words were just a breath. "What?" Bella whispered. "Just talking to myself," he lied smoothly. If he succeeded with this, if Bella lived, Edward wasn't going to be able to get away with so much when her senses were as sharp as his. He'd have to work on the honesty thing. Edward's lips twitched, fighting a smile. Bella chugged a few more ounces, staring past us toward the window, probably pretending we weren't there. Or maybe just me. No one else in this group would be disgusted by what she was doing. Just the opposite. They were probably having a tough time not ripping the cup away from her. Edward rolled his eyes. Geez, how did anyone stand living with him? It was really too bad he couldn't hear Bella's thoughts. Then he'd annoy the heck out of her too, and she'd get tired of him. Edward chuckled once. Bella's eyes flicked to him immediately, and she half smiled at the humor in his face. I would guess that wasn't something she'd seen in a while. "Something funny?" she breathed. "Jacob," he answered. She looked over with another weary smile for me. "Jake's a crack-up," she agreed. "Great, now I was the court jester." Bada bing, I mumbled in a weak, rim-shot expression. She smiled again. I don't know where that... What? She smiled again, and then took another swig from the cup. I flinched when the straw pulled at empty air, making a loud sucking sound. "I did it," she said, sounding pleased. Her voice was clearer, rough, but not a whisper for the first time today. "If I keep this down, Carlyle, will you take the needles out of me?" "As soon as possible," he promised. Honestly, they aren't doing that much good where they are." Rosalie patted Bella's forehead, and they exchanged a hopeful glance. And anyone could see it. The cup full of human blood had made an immediate difference. Her color was returning, and there was a tiny hint of pink in her waxy cheeks. Already she didn't seem to need Rosalie's support so much anymore. Her breathing was easier, and I would swear her heartbeat was stronger, more even. Everything accelerated. That ghost of hope in Edward's eyes had turned into the real thing. "Would you like more?" Rosalie pressed. Bella's shoulders slumped. Edward flashed a glare at Rosalie before he spoke to Bella. "You don't have to drink more right away." "Yeah, I know, but I want to," she admitted glumly. Rosalie pulled her thin, sharp fingers through Bella's lank hair. "You don't need to be embarrassed about that, Bella. Your body has cravings. We all understand that." Her tone was soothing at first, but then she added harshly, "Anyone who doesn't understand that shouldn't be here." Meant for me, obviously, but I wasn't going to let Blondie get to me. I was glad Bella felt better. So what if that, what if the means grossed me out? It wasn't like I'd say anything. Carlyle took the cup from Bella's hand. "I'll be right back." Bella stared at me while he disappeared. "Jake, you look awful," she croaked. "Look who's talking." "Seriously, when's the last time you slept?" I thought about that for a second. "Huh. I'm not actually sure." "Oh, Jake, now I'm messing with your health, too. Don't be stupid." I gritted my teeth. She was allowed to kill herself for a monster, but I wasn't allowed to miss a few nights of sleep to watch her do it. "Get some rest, please," she went on. "There's a few beds upstairs. You're welcome to any of them." The look on Rosalie's face made it clear that I wasn't welcome to one of them. It made me wonder what sleepless beauty needed a bed for... Oh, I get it. Needed a bed for anyway. Was she that possessive of her props? Thanks, Bells, but I'd rather sleep on the ground, away from the stench, you know? She grimaced. Right. Carlyle was back then, and Bella reached out for the blood, absent-minded, like she was thinking of something else. With the same distracted expression, she started sucking it down. She really was looking better. She pulled herself forward, being careful of the tubes, and scooted into a sitting position. Rosalie hovered, her hands ready to catch Bella if she sagged, but Bella didn't need her. Taking deep breaths in between swallows, Bella finished the second cup quickly. How do you feel now? Carlyle asked. Not sick, sort of hungry, only I'm not sure if I'm hungry or thirsty, you know? Carlyle, just look at her, Rosalie murmured, so smug she should have canary feathers on her lips. This is obviously what her body wants. She should drink more. She's still human, Rosalie. She needs food, too. Let's give her a little while to see how this affects her, and then maybe we can try some food again. Does anything sound particularly good to you, Bella? Eggs, she said immediately, and then she exchanged a look and a smile with Edward. His smile was brittle, but there was more life on his face than before. I wonder how many pages are left. 13. Okay. I blinked then and almost forgot how to open my eyes again. Jacob, Edward murmured. You really should sleep. As Bella said, you're certainly welcome to the accommodations here, though you'd probably be more comfortable outside. Don't worry about anything, I promise. I'll find you if there's a need. Sure, I mumbled. Now that it appeared that Bella had a few more hours, I could escape, go curl up under a tree somewhere. Far enough away that the smell couldn't reach me. The bloodsucker would wake me up if something went wrong. He owed me. I do, he agreed. I nodded, then put my hand on Bella's, and hers was icy cold. Feel better, I said. Thanks, Jacob. She turned her hand over and squeezed mine. I felt the thin band of her wedding ring riding loose on her skinny finger. Get her a blanket or something, I muttered as I turned for the door. Before I made it, 2 howls pierced the still morning air. There was no mistaking the urgency of their tone. No misunderstanding this time. Dang it, I snarled, and I threw myself through the door, hurled my body off the porch, letting the fire rip me apart mid-air. There was a sharp tearing sound as my shorts shredded. Crud. Those were the only clothes I had. Didn't matter now. I landed on paws and took off toward the west. What is it? I shouted in my head. Incoming, Seth answered. At least 3. Did they split up? I'm running the line back to Seth at the speed of light, Leah promised. I could feel the air huffing through her lungs as she pushed herself into an incredible velocity. The force whipped around her. So far, no other point of attack. Seth, do not challenge them. Wait for me. They're slowing. It's so off not being able to hear them. I think... What? I think they've stopped. Waiting for the rest of the pack? Shh. Feel that? I absorbed his impressions, the faint, soundless shimmer in the air. Someone's phasing? Feels like it, Seth agreed. Leah flew into the small open space where Seth waited. She raked her claws into the dirt, spinning out like a race car. Got your back, bro. They're coming, Seth said nervously. Slow. Walking. Almost there, I told him. I tried to fly like Leah. It felt horrible being separated from Seth and Leah with potential danger closer to their end than mine. Wrong. I should be with them, between them and whatever was coming. Look who's getting all paternal, Leah thought wryly. Head in the game, Leah. 4, Seth decided. Kid had good ears. 3 wolves, 1 man. I made the little clearing then, moving immediately to the point. Seth sighed with relief and then straightened up. Already in place at my right shoulder, Leah fell in on my left with a little less enthusiasm. So now I rank under Seth, she grumbled to herself. First come, first served, Seth thought smugly. Besides, you were never an Alpha's 3rd before. Still an upgrade. Under my baby brother is not an upgrade. Shh, I complained. I don't care where you stand. Shut up and get ready. They came into view a few seconds later, walking as Seth had thought. Jared in front, human, hands up, Paul and Quill and Colin on 4 legs behind him. There was no aggression in their postures. They hung back behind Jared, ears up, alert but calm. But it was weird that Sam would send Colin rather than Embry. That wasn't what I would do if I were sending a diplomacy party into enemy territory. I wouldn't send a kid. I'd send an experienced fighter. A diversion, Leah thought. Were Sam and Embry and Brady, were Sam, Embry, and Brady making a move alone? That didn't seem likely. Want me to check? I can run the line and be back in 2 minutes. Should I warn the Cullens? Seth wondered. What if the point was to divide us, I asked. The Cullens know something's up. They're ready. Sam wouldn't be so stupid, Leah whispered. Fear jagged in her mind. She was imagining Sam attacking the Cullens with only 2 brothers beside him. No, he wouldn't, I assured her, though I felt a little sick at the image in her head, too. All the while, Jared and the 3 wolves stared at us, waiting. It was eerie not to hear what Quill and Paul and Cullen were saying to one another. Their expressions were blank, unreadable. Jared cleared his throat and then nodded to me. White flag of truce, Jake. We're here to talk. Think it's true? Seth asked. Makes sense, but... Yeah, Leah agreed, but... We didn't relax. Jared frowned. It would be easier to talk if I could hear you, too. I stared him down. I wasn't going to face back until I felt better about this situation, until it made sense. Why Colin? That was the part that had me the most worried. Okay, I guess I'll just talk then, Jared said. Jake, we want you to come back. Quill let out a soft whine behind him, seconding the statement. You've torn our family apart. It's not meant to be this way. I wasn't exactly in disagreement with that, but it was hardly the point. There were a few unresolved differences of opinion between me and Sam at the moment. We know how you feel, we know that you feel strongly about the situation with the Cullens. We know that's a problem, but this is an overreaction. Hey, Seth growled, overreaction? And our attacking our allies without warning isn't? Seth, have you ever heard of a poker face? Cool it. Sorry. Jared's eyes flickered to Seth and back to me. Sam is willing to take this slowly, Jacob. He's calmed down, talked to the other elders. They've decided that immediate action is in no one's best interests at this point. Translation, they've already lost the element of surprise, Leah thought. It was weird how distinct our joint thinking was. The pack was already Sam's pack. It was already them to us. Something outside, another. Sorry. It was especially weird to have Leah thinking that way. To have her be a solid part of the us. Billy and Sue agree with you, Jacob, that we can wait for Bella not to be separated, or to be separated from the problem. Killing her is not something any of us feel comfortable with. Though I'd just given Seth grief for it, I couldn't hold back a small snarl of my own. So they didn't quite feel comfortable with murder, huh? Jared raised his hands again. Easy, Jake. You know what I mean. The point is, we're going to wait and reassess the situation. Decide later if there's a problem with the thing. Ha, Leah said, thought. Sorry. What a load. You don't buy it? I know what they're thinking, Jake. What Sam's thinking. They're betting on Bella dying anyway, and then they figure you'll be so mad that I'll lead the attack myself. My ears pressed against my skull. What Leah was guessing sounded pretty spot on, and very possible, too. If that thing killed Bella, it was going to be easy to forget how I felt about Carlisle's family right now. They would probably look like enemies, like no more than blood-sucking leeches to me all over again. I'll remind you, Seth whispered. I know you will, kid. Question is whether I'll listen to you. Jake? Jared asked. I huffed a sigh. Leah, make a circuit. Just to be sure, I'm going to have to talk to him, and I want to be positive that there isn't anything else there isn't anything else going on while I'm phased. Sorry. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just still tired. It is kind of early when I'm recording this. Anyway. Where was I? Give me a break, Jacob. You can phase in front of me. Despite my best efforts, I've seen you naked before. It doesn't do much for me, so no worries. I'm extremely uncomfortable. I'm not trying to protect the innocence of your eyes. I'm trying to protect our backs. Get out of here. Leah snorted once and then launched herself into the forest. I could hear her claws cutting into the soil, pushing her faster. Nudity was an inconvenient but unavoidable part of pack life. We'd all thought of nothing of it before Leah came along. Then it got awkward. Leah had average control when it came to her temper. It took her the usual length of time to stop exploding out of her clothes every time she got ticked. We'd all caught a glimpse, and it wasn't like she wasn't worth looking at. What? It was just that it was so not worth it when she caught you thinking about it later. Jared and the others were staring at the place where she disappeared into the brush with wary expressions. "Where's she going?" Jared asked. I ignored him, closing my eyes and pulling myself together again. It felt like the air was trembling around me, shaking out from me in small waves. I lifted myself up on my hind legs, catching the moment just right so that I was fully upright as I shimmered down to my human self. "Oh," Jared said. "Hey, Jake." "Hey, Jared." "Thanks for talking to me." "Yeah. We want you to come back, man." Quill whined again. "I don't know if it's that easy, Jared." "Come home," he said, leaning forward, pleading. "We can sort this out. You don't belong here. Let Seth and Leah come home, too." I laughed, right like I haven't been begging them to do that from hour one. Seth snorted behind me. Jared assessed that, his eyes cautious again. "So what now, then?" I thought that over for a minute while he waited. "I don't know. But I'm not sure things could just go back to normal anyway, Jared. I don't know how it works. It doesn't feel like I can just turn off this alpha thing and, it doesn't feel like I can just turn this alpha thing off and on as the mood strikes. It feels sort of permanent. You still belong with us." I raised my eyebrows. "Two alphas can't belong in the same place, Jared. Remember how close it got last night? The instinct is too competitive." "So, are you all just going to hang out with the parasites for the rest of your lives?" he demanded. "You don't have a home here. You're already out of clothes," he pointed out. "You're going to stay wolf all the time? You know Leah doesn't like eating that way. Leah can do whatever she wants when she gets hungry. She's here by her own choice. I'm not telling anyone what to do." Jared sighed. "Sam is sorry about what he did to you." I nodded. "I'm not angry anymore. But I'm not coming back. Not now. We're going to wait and see how it plays out. And we're going to watch out for the Cullens for as long as that seems necessary, because despite what you think, this isn't just about Bella. We're protecting those who should be protected, and that applies to the Cullens too. At least a fair number of them, anyway." Seth yelped softly in agreement. Jared frowned. "I guess there's nothing I can say to you then. Not now. We'll see how things go." Jared turned to face Seth, concentrating on him now, separate from me. "Sue asked me to tell you, no, to beg you to come home. She's heartbroken." What? "Heartbroken, Seth? All alone? I don't know how you and Leah can do this to her. Abandon her this way when your dad just barely died." Seth whimpered. "Ease up, Jared," I warned. "Just letting him know how it is." I snorted. Right. Sue was tougher than anyone I knew. Tougher than my dad. Tougher than me. Tough enough to play on her kids' sympathies if that's what it took to get them home. Oh, I didn't actually know that's what it was going to say, but I'm glad it did. But it wasn't fair to work Seth that way. Sue's known about this for how many hours now? And most of that time spent with Billy and old Quill and Sam. Yeah, I'm sure she's just perishing of loneliness. Of course, you're free to go if you want, Seth. You know that. Seth sniffed. Then, a second later, he cocked an ear to the north. Leah must be close. Jeez, she was fast. 2 heartbeats and Leah skidded to a stop in the brush a few yards away. She trotted in, taking the point in front of Seth. She kept her nose in the air, very obviously not looking in my direction. I appreciated that. Oh, that reminds me. Real quick, little biology thing about wolves. Wait, not the best time to say something like that. For the most part, the females are much faster than the males. So that in like the spring and summer and fall, they'll take point running after to tire out their prey, and then the males will come in when they get slowed down and tired and tackle them from the sides. But in the winter, since the males are thicker and whiter, they'll be running in front because of snowfall. That way it's easier for the females to attack. Kind of like how geese fly in a V formation. Anyway. Leah, Jared asked. She met his gaze, her muzzle pulling back a little over her teeth. Jared didn't seem surprised by her hostility. Leah, you know you don't want to be here. She snarled at him. I gave her a warning glance she didn't see. Seth whined and nudged her with his shoulder. Sorry, Jared said. Guess I shouldn't assume. But you don't have any ties to the bloodsuckers. Leah very deliberately looked at her brother and then at me. So you want to watch out for Seth, I get that, Jared said. His eyes touched my face and then went back to hers, probably wondering about the second look, just like I was. But Jake's not going to let anything happen to him. And he's not afraid to be here. Jared made a face. Anyway, please, Leah, we want you back. Sam wants you back. Leah's tail twitched. Sam told me to beg. He told me to literally get down on my knees if I have to. He wants you home. Oh, jeez. Lily, where you belong. I saw Leah flinch when Jared used Sam's old nickname for her, and then when he added those last three words, her hackles rose and she was yowling a long stream of snarls through her teeth. I didn't have to be in her head to hear the cussing out she was giving him, and neither did he. You could almost hear the exact words she was using. I waited till she was done. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Leah belongs wherever she wants to be. Leah growled, but as she was glaring at Jared, I figured it was an agreement. Look, Jared, we're still family, okay? We'll get past the feud, but until we do, you probably ought to stick to your land, just so there aren't any misunderstandings. Nobody wants a family brawl, right? Sam doesn't want that either, does he? Of course not, Jared snapped. We'll stick to our land. But where's your land, Jacob? Is it vampire land? Me. No, Jared. Homeless at the moment. But don't worry, this isn't going to last forever. I had to take a breath. There's not that much time left, okay? Then the Cullens will probably go, and Seth and Leah will come home. Leah and Seth whined together, their noses turning my direction in synchronization. And what about you, Jake? Back to the forest, I think. I can't really stick around, Lapush. 2 alphas means too much attention. Besides, I was headed that way anyway, before this mess. What if we need to talk, Jared asked. Howl, but watch the line, okay? We'll come to you. And Sam doesn't need to send so many. We aren't looking for a fight. Jared scowled, but nodded. He didn't like me setting conditions for Sam. See you around, Jake. Or not, he waved half-heartedly. Wait, Jared, is Embry okay? Surprise crossed his face. Embry? Sure, he's fine. Why? Just wondering why Sam sent Colin. I watched his reaction, still suspicious that something was going on. I saw knowledge flash in his eyes, but it didn't look like the kind I was expecting. That's not really your business anymore, Jake. Guess not. Just curious. I saw a twitch from the corner of my eye, but I couldn't acknowledge it because I didn't want to give Quill away. What? Quill away. There we go. He was reacting to the subject. I'll let Sam know about your instructions. Goodbye, Jacob. I sighed. Yeah, bye, Jared. Tell my dad that I'm okay, will you? And that I'm sorry. And that I love him. I'll pass that along. Thanks. Come on, guys, Jared said. He turned away from us, heading out of sight to face because Leah was here. Paul and Colin were right on his heels, but Quill hesitated. He yelped softly, and I took a step toward him. Yeah, I miss you too, bro. Quill jogged over to me, his head hanging down morosely. I patted his shoulder. It'll be okay. He whined. Tell Embry I miss having you two on my flanks. He nodded and then pressed his nose to my forehead. Leah snorted. Quill looked up, but not at her. He looked back over his shoulder where the others had gone. Yeah, go home, I told him. Quill yelped again and then took off after the others. I bet Jared wasn't waiting super patiently. As soon as he was gone, I pulled the warmth from the center of my body and let it surge through my limbs. In a flash of heat, I was on 4 legs again. Thought you were going to make out with him, Leah snickered. I ignored her. Was that okay? I asked them. It worried me speaking for them that way when I couldn't hear exactly what they were thinking. I didn't want to assume anything. I didn't want to be like Jared that way. Did I say anything you didn't want me to? Did I not say something I should have? You did great, Jake, Seth encouraged. You could have hit Jared, Leah thought. I wouldn't have minded that. I guess we know why Embry wasn't allowed to come, Seth thought. I didn't understand. Not allowed? Jake, did you see Quill? He's pretty torn up, right? I'd put 10 to 1 that Embry's even more upset, and Embry doesn't have a Claire. There's no way Quill can just pick up and walk away from LaPush. Embry might. So Sam's not going to take any chances on him getting convinced to jump ship. He doesn't want our pack any bigger than it is now. That makes perfect sense. Really? You think? I doubt Embry would mind shredding some Cullens. But he's your best friend, Jake. He and Quill would rather stand behind you than face you in a fight. Well, I'm glad Sam kept him home then. This pack is big enough. I sighed. Okay then. So we're good for now. Seth, you mind keeping an eye on things for a while? Leah and I both need to crash. This felt on the level, but who knows? Maybe it was a distraction. I wasn't always so paranoid, but I remembered the feel of Sam's commitment, the total one-track focus on destroying the danger he saw. Would he take advantage of the fact that he could lie to us now? No problem. Seth was only too eager to do whatever he could. You want me to explain to the Cullens? They're probably still kind of tense. I got it. I want to check things out anyway. They caught the whir of images from my fried brain. Seth whimpered in surprise. Ew. Leah whipped her head back and forth like she was trying to shake the image out of her mind. That is easily the freaking grossest thing I've ever heard in my life. Yuck. If there's anything in my stomach, it would be coming back. I could feel it. They are vampires, I guess, Seth allowed after a minute, compensating for Leah's reaction. I mean, it makes sense. And if it helps Bella, it's a good thing, right? Both Leah and I stared at him. What? Mom dropped him a lot when he was a baby, Leah told me. On his head, apparently. He used to gnaw on the crib bars, too. Lead paint? Looks like it, she thought. Seth snorted. Funny. Why don't you two shut up and sleep? Okay. Well, that was fun. Let me know how I did. I stumbled a lot more today. Maybe it's because I forgot to turn the light on. Or maybe it's because I was sick yesterday. At least I'm not really sick today, but I don't want to have to walk to work in the rain. Oh well. Let's see, that was chapter 13. How many chapters are in this book? Oh, that's right, it doesn't have the thing. Oh, boy. There's 39 chapters in this book. So what? We're a third of the way through? Dang it. Okay then. Before it hits to be 39 minutes, thank you guys for watching. Let me know if there's anything I should read. Hunger Games, for instance, like I mentioned earlier. And until next time, goodbye everybody.